Howdy, and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Continuing the Arnhem anniversary theme, we're going to be looking at the training aircraft for all the glider pilots involved in the Market Garden airdrop for the British. This is the 1964 Airlines Frog General Aircraft Hotspur. This is kit number 7904 in 1/72nd scale. We've got box art by Joe Catula, who did the artwork for the U.S. issues of the Frog kits under the airline's name in the United States. So the Hotspur was developed out of the initial response to the German airborne use in the lowlands in 1940. Winston Churchill established the airborne forces and commandos also at the same time, and so the Air Force, the RAF, established the Central Landing Establishment as a group to start coming up with equipment, tactics for these new airborne forces. And there was a joint effort between the RAF and the Army to develop these equipments and tactics. And so the first thing they needed was a glider. And so they put out a request for a glider that was very similar to the German DFS 230 that had been utilized in the German landings, in particular the assault on the Belgian Fort Eben-Emael, which was highly successful. So they were looking for a glider that could contain 8 troops and had a range of 100 miles. The original idea for these assault gliders is that they would be released far away from their target, so that the tow aircraft wouldn't be heard, and then these aircraft would be released at a very high altitude, glide in silently, and attack their target. So that's why they wanted a 100-mile glide range on it, and so that of course affected the design, and you can kind of see the similarities between this and civilian sailplanes in its overall look. So General Aircraft answered the Air Ministry specification of X1040 with the GAL 48. The designer was a gentleman by the name of F.F. Crocombe, and had its first flight on 5 November of 1940, about 4 months after the specification had been issued, so pretty quick in getting this thing going. The Hotspur was named after Sir Henry Percy, who was involved with the Anglo-Scottish Wars, and he was also known as Hotspur, so they named this aircraft Hotspur after him. So the Hotspur 1 had a much longer wingspan in order to achieve that 100-mile range of gliding, and it was also designed with the side of the top of the fuselage was separated right along the sides, and when the glider landed, the whole top would just pop open, and then the troops would just hop out, like getting out of a boat. They only made 18 of those before they realized, these tactics aren't probably the direction we want to go. If you're going to be only carrying 8 men at a time, you're going to need a lot of gliders if you want to conduct any kind of serious assault. So they changed the tactics a little bit, put out a request for a different glider, which ultimately resulted in the Horsa, which we saw in the previous video. But they did modify the Hotspur 2 to be more, conducive to the direction of landing that they were looking for. So they shortened the wingspan about 8 feet, got rid of this pop open top, added a door to the side, increased the size of the cockpit to be able to give better view for these assault landings. And so now the new idea was that the tow aircraft would bring it in really close to the target, and at a low level, and they would release these, and these would dive in real fast to get down on the ground quickly. So that's why they made a lot of these changes to it. But ultimately, the Hotspur was never used in a combat situation. The Hotspur ended up becoming just a training aircraft, both for the actual glider troops to train in landing, and also to develop the whole glider pilot regiment. So a number of these were modified into dual control trainers, and that's what allowed them to start building up the glider pilot regiment of pilots to fly what became the horses and the Hamilcars in the actual assaults. Something that's different between the American and the British glider pilots was the American glider pilots were just trained as pilots and were to be pulled out as quickly as possible from battle, whereas in the British doctrine, the glider pilot regiment pilots were trained to be an actual fighting regiment. They weren't supposed to be a frontline regiment, but they were part of the divisional fighting force. And at Arnhem, the glider pilots put up, some of the toughest resistance in the pocket at the Hartenstein Hotel. So that's a little bit about the Hotspur. There was one other version that was developed as kind of an interim idea until they got the Horsa going to increase the amount of troops that could be used. They developed what was called a twin Hotspur, which was basically two fuselages mated together with a new linking wing and tail, so that the outer wing was still the same. The outer tail plane was removed, but there was a second fuselage identical to it, so you could end up carrying 16 troops instead of 8. They did build a prototype of that, and it did fly, but the Horsa, of course, came out and was a much better idea than this twin Hotspur. I will show some photographs of that later on in the video, because I think it's kind of an interesting idea. But let's take a look at the kit itself now. And we've got this great artwork here by Joe Catula. We've got the airlines logo on here, which includes the Lions Brothers logo, which with the frog down the middle. 72nd scale, but they just show it as being a Hotspur here. On the side, we do have it telling you that it is Hotspur 2, and that it's the training glider, your kit number, 1/72nd scale, constant scale, and this is a profile image. Incidentally, the artwork on the airlines being done by Joe Catula in the United States was done specifically for the U.S. issue. Then this artwork then got sent back to Great Britain and then used on the frog kits as well. On this side here, we've got features. Here's also your copyright date. It's 1964 Lions Brothers Inc. in New York, made and lithoed in the U.S. So you got pilot figure, movable wheels, authentic RF markings, box bottom collector's card, which we'll see, airlines testers free kit offer, which is included part of that, and a tester's painting manual. We've seen that in another kit as well. On the side, we've got a repeat of the top box art. And same thing with this one and the kit number. Now, these kits were done in a flip-top box that's printed directly onto the cardboard with a flip-top box. So it lays out into a pretty decent little tray. Much better than the end-opening type of boxes, for sure. And here we have our instruction sheet. Fairly simple, exploded view of the kit. Assembly instructions down the side. Not much to the kit, but we do have, looks like, movable control surfaces set up. A little bit of a cockpit, maybe. Airlines logo again. On this side here, we've got the 3-view showing the painting instructions. In this case, the training version with the black and yellow stripes on the bottom, and the address, and then it's a little bit of a history. So there's that. And then we have the painting guide that was included in conjunction with testers. Similar to the one that we saw in the previous kit with these kind of cool 2 and 3 views showing different painting styles. It's also a good way of showing kits available. And then a whole listing here, and then a plug for testers, which in 1964 included sprays. And on the back side's a bunch of tips. And there you go. Once you're all done, you get to enjoy your model kit. Okay, and then we've got our decals, and decals come with a little wax paper cover on it. Hotspur, these have yellowed a bit. Registration is pretty far off on them. They are very skewed to one side, almost off the backing film. And the yellow is definitely off. So not the best printed decals, no name on the back for who printed these. But this is for an actual aircraft. This is a Hotspur Mark II, BT-615. And it's served with number 2 glider training squadron. They were based at Weston on the Green in Oxfordshire. And there are a few photographs of this aircraft, so I will show those to you here, along with that twin Hotspur. I'll show those pictures to you here now. Okay, let's take a look at the plastic. So we've got a tree here with a fuselage half and wing parts. You can see on the fuselage there is nothing on the interior. Do have a few of these little portholes. And as far as surface detail, not much. Being an all wooden aircraft, they're not showing you really any seams on it. Here's where the door was put on there to replace the pop-off lid top. There is some representation, I guess, of fabric covering for the tail. Here's our wings. Little spots here for the jettisonable wheels, and spots for the ailerons, but very simple, not much to it. Here's the other fuselage half, and the doors towards the rear here. There's representation for some steps that's similar as that. And then here's the top wing on here. Interesting to see the way the plastic is molded on this wing. But it's perfectly smooth. That's just the plastic. Gotta love this old silver. And this sprue here has some of the tail parts, the wheels, pilot seat. There's the cockpit floor. A lot of ejector pin marks on this side. And that is where the plastic's pushed into the mold. Big, fat, huge piece there. Okay, pilot seat and wheel are loose. Here's our rudder. A little bit of flash on that part. And then this one has a couple of pilot figures, the gear, adjustable gear, elevators, your ailerons, and your nose skids, and your doors. And here's our pilot figures. Kind of generic. And here's our clear sprue, which includes the canopy part. This one's pretty nice. Fairly clear in its molding. And it does have Don't really feel hardly. Yeah, it is there. There is some framing there. So technically, I mean, that's actually more scale when you can just barely touch it, because, you know, the framing on canopies was really thin. So to be scale, you should really barely feel it. Makes it a hell of a lot harder to paint it, but it actually really is more scale. And then here's all the little portholes that go down the side. And that's about it, little falling off pieces. And then here we've also got the cutout things, that you, for the collector cards, and a little checklist. And then if you've collected enough of these, you could send it in and get a free model kit from it. So it would have been nice if they would have done something else, like collect, the box ends or something, and send those, 10 of those in and get your free kit, as opposed to, these really kind of cool cards, which were the box top artwork. That you have to cough up these in order to get your free kit, which was annoying. So it looks like you needed 12 for the tester's paint kit, or 24 to get a free kit. So you had to buy a lot of frog kits in order to get one free kit. But hey, it's better than a poke in an eye. So there you have it. That is your Airlines kit. And as bonus for this, I also have an original World War II recognition model of the Hotspur, which I thought would be interesting to show. And this one is actually still in very good shape. So you've seen some of the previous ones where a lot of the rotting and cancers, taking hold on some of these. This one is still in pretty decent shape. There's a little bit of warping occurring, but not as bad as some of the others. So this one is still really good. And it's only missing one of the landing gear wheels being broken off. But it still has the skids, which is nice. You can see here's the door. It does show where the little portholes are, and then the cockpit framing, your tail, and then across the bottom here we've got British Hotspur, and we've got a copyright date of, looks like June of 1943. And the circle with the C is for the company Kruver, who made the majority of these. And you can see a little bit of the kind of warpage occurring on the fuselage side already. Generally where the joints are, seems to be where the cancer starts. A little bit of twisting has occurred in the fuselage, so the tail's starting to kind of get a little cockeyed. But unfortunately, these things, eventually they're just not going to exist anymore. They're just going to gradually deteriorate. But I thought you'd like to see that. That's kind of cool. So there you go. So that's your Hotspur. That's your frog kit. As far as other issues go, the original issue for this was a 1963 by Frog. Box art had the three-view drawings as part of the early frog boxings kind of style of presentation. Then you have this Airlines version with Cthulhu artwork. The same year in '64, there was an issue for the Triangle series, which is the ones that were released to France, since Frog is probably not the best name to put on a kit that you're trying to sell to the French. And then there was also a 64 issue from Frog with the Cthulhu artwork, which then carried on with most of the other issues. There was another 65 issue with the token program, where you send in the tokens to get your free kit instead of those the cards on the bottom. And then it kind of disappeared for a while until they got acquired. The Frog series was acquired by a Russian company when Frog went bankrupt. and then they were molded and then resold in the UK under the Novo name. They carried the same, or most of the time carried similar box art, except the whole box, or there was a blue, mid-blue kind of framing that was used on them. There's another 84 Novo issue. And then sometime in the 80s, it was issued multiple times by some other Soviet factories, DFI, DZI. They issued multiple versions of it. Really simple box, pretty poor molding on them. And there's just changes in colors of the box. There's a green one, a red one, a blue one. Then finally in the 90s, the DZI company made some new artwork, kind of spruced it up. I guess, the Soviet Union's falling apart, so now they're trying to get into the Western market, so they figure, hey, we got to make this kit look a lot better than we did for the Soviet market. So they got some new artwork on that in 93. 94, the molds ended up with a Czechoslovakian company called Air Molds, which also strangely included a twin Hotspur. So it looks like they included some additional parts for the link between the two kits, but they give you a second fuselage to be able to make a twin Hotspur. So that particular molding, if you can find that one and you want to make something different, that is a pretty interesting kit to find. So that was the 94 Air Molds version. 95 DZI did their thing again sometime in the 90s. ZTS Plastic, a Polish company, got the molds and did their version. And then finally in the 2000s, Eastern Express, another Russian company, repopped it again. 2012 ARC models. And then they also did in 2016 a kind of a Novo tribute box. So ARC models recreated the look of the Novo box. It still has the ARC models logo on instead of Novo, but it looks like the old 70s Novo box, because apparently there's some nostalgia for the Novo boxes. So that's about it for issues of the frog mold. As far as I could tell, this is the only kit available of the Hotspur and 72nd scale. There was in the 2000s a company called Planet Models that made a 148 scale kit. It appears to only have been issued once, maybe twice. But this is it for Hotspur, surprisingly. So if you are interested in kind of the more obscure stuff, this Frog Hotspur certainly could scratch that itch. Well, if you've built one of these, tell us about it in the comments section. If you got one sitting on your shelf, take a picture of it, send it in for our next viewer build video. And that is all for today. So thanks for watching and have yourself a great rest of your day.